Imagine a world where the orchestra plays louder as the ship sinks faster, and the guests are too busy arguing over the appetizers to notice the icy water already pooling at their feet. On the surface, the United States economy looks like a masterpiece of modern engineering. The stock market is screaming toward all-time highs. The Federal Reserve is taking its victory lap against inflation. And, believe it or not, even Arby's is releasing steak nuggets to celebrate our supposed prosperity. It feels like a golden era. But underneath this polished floor, there is a low, rhythmic thumping that nobody wants to acknowledge. We are being fed a diet of distraction while a $38 trillion monster quietly prepares to swallow the future whole. Hi, I'm your guide through the noise, and welcome to Financial Mindset. If you've ever felt like the headlines don't match the reality of your bank account, you're not crazy. You're just paying attention. Before we pull back the curtain on this digital mirage, please subscribe to support this channel. It's the only way we can keep these investigations alive and help more people wake up before the music stops. Let's look at the math that should be keeping you awake at night. The national debt has officially surged past $38 trillion, a number so large it loses meaning to the human brain. But here's the part that isn't just a number. It is a predator. For the first time in history, we are spending over $1 trillion a year just to service the interest on that debt. That means we are shelling out more money just to pay for our past mistakes than we spend on our entire national defense, our veterans, or our income security programs. Interest is now the fastest growing expense in the federal budget, exploding by 34% in just 2 years. We are effectively paying a $1 trillion cover charge every year just to stand in a club that is burning down around us. The government is maxing out its credit cards at 2 a.m. in a Miami bachelor party, and the most dangerous part, they've convinced the rest of America that this isn't just normal. It's a celebration. When the architects of our economy treat debt like a game of Monopoly, it is only a matter of time before that reckless energy trickles down into the sanctuary of every American living room. I have spent years as your companion in these spreadsheets, but nothing hits as hard as seeing the sheer explosion of household debt in this country. It has reached a staggering $18.6 trillion, a 60% surge in just a single decade. It is as if we have collectively decided that the only way to survive the present is to mortgage every waking second of our future. To help you navigate this chaos, I want to look at it through the lens of a classic Clint Eastwood film: the good, the bad, and the ugly. We begin with what the system calls good debt: housing. There is a record $13 trillion tied up in mortgage balances right now. Think about the weight of that number. We are paying the highest prices in human history for the simple, soul-crushing privilege of owning 4 walls and a roof. It is a closed-end loan, meaning you receive a chunk of money up front and then spend the next 30 years of your life's labor paying it back with interest. But I have to ask you, is it really good if it leaves you one missed paycheck away from absolute ruin? Then there is the younger, more volatile sibling: home equity lines of credit, or HELOCs. This is essentially a credit card for your house. While the total balance of $411 billion might seem modest, the trend is what should make your heart skip a beat. HELOC balances have jumped more than 30% since 2021, the fastest rise we've seen since the period right before the 2008 financial crisis. People aren't just living in their homes anymore. They are treating them like ATMs to subsidize a cost of living they can no longer afford. It is a quiet desperation, a silent cracking of the foundation that most are too proud to admit until the walls are already closing in. If the foundation of our homes is beginning to crack under the weight of silent desperation, then the foundation of our future, our education, has already been completely hollowed out by a system that prioritizes institutional profit over human potential. We have turned the American rite of passage into a predatory trap, a structural betrayal that begins before a young person even understands the value of a dollar. Since 1983, the cost of a college degree has skyrocketed by more than 700%, an astronomical climb that has left inflation, housing costs, and wage growth in the dust. This isn't an accident. It's a calculated cycle where universities raise their prices because they know the government will blindly hand over the loans to any 18-year-old with a pulse and a pen. We are essentially handing the keys of a high-performance Formula One car to kids who have only ever balanced on a bicycle. And then we act shocked when they spiral into a lifetime of debt. They spend 4 years memorizing that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, yet they graduate with zero financial literacy and a debt burden that averages $37,000 per person. There is now $1.7 trillion in total student loan balances, a weight shared by 44 million Americans who were told this was the only way to succeed. But here's the most terrifying part of this investigation. The cracks are finally turning into canyons. A year ago, serious delinquencies on these loans sat at less than 1%. Today, that number has surged past 9%. Unlike a house or a car, you cannot sell your degree when the payments become unbearable. You cannot hand back the knowledge in exchange for your freedom. Student loan debt is the herpes of the financial world. It is a permanent, it's lifelong condition that survives even the total ruin of bankruptcy. We have shackled an entire generation to a ghost of a promise. And as I watch these delinquency rates climb, I see the quiet tragedy of millions of lives being deferred before they have even truly begun. If the weight of a degree feels like a life sentence, the plastic in our pockets has become the high-voltage fence that keeps us trapped in a cycle of immediate survival. We have officially crossed the $1 trillion threshold in credit card debt, a milestone that should send a chill down the spine of every American who still believes in financial freedom. But the most alarming part of this investigation isn't just the total balance, it's the sheer velocity of our descent. We have managed to pile on more credit card debt in the last 4 years than we did in the entire decade following the 2008 financial crisis. This isn't just a spending spree. It's a symptom of a systemic metabolic failure where wages have been ruthlessly outpaced by the sheer cost of existing. We aren't just swiping our cards anymore. We are opening accounts at a frantic pace. With over 600 million active credit lines now haunting our mailboxes and smartphone apps. This means the average American is juggling several cards, several interest rates, and several potential heartaches every single month. And here is the poison in the well. The average interest rate on these cards has ballooned to over 21%. When you combine that with a delinquency rate that has climbed above 12%, the highest since the world nearly ended in 2008, you start to see the true face of the plastic prison. If you are in that group, you aren't just behind on payments. You are drowning in a sea of compound interest where the current is moving faster than you can possibly swim. But because the old-fashioned credit card started to look too much like a trap, Silicon Valley decided to give debt a marketing makeover. They called it Buy Now, Pay Later, and they wrapped it in the soft pastel colors of apps like Klarna and Affirm. They marketed it as financial empowerment and convenience for a new generation. But let's call it what it really is: debt with a better user interface. It is a psychological anesthetic designed to make the pain of spending disappear until the bill comes due. When 15% of Americans are using installment plans for basic necessities like groceries and gas, we aren't seeing innovation. We are seeing the normalization of a permanent underclass, financing their day-to-day survival 4 easy payments at a time. It's a shiny new hook for the same old fish. And as I watch this generation learn to normalize debt before they even understand savings, I realize that the system didn't just build a trap. It built a lifestyle. This normalized culture of borrowing has effectively turned our entire economy into a high-stakes game of pretend, where the strong consumer we hear about is really just someone juggling 4 different installment plans to survive a single week. When you look at the American landscape through this debt-first lens, the glowing headlines on CNBC start to feel less like news and more like a giant, frantic game of hot potato, where everyone is just praying the music doesn't stop on their watch. We are witnessing a systemic choice to finance the present by burying the future under a mountain of compound interest that our children will never be able to climb. Every record-high stock market report and every flashy retail update is built on a foundation of shifting sand, money that was never ours, being spent at interest rates we can no longer afford. The truth is, this credit crisis won't arrive with a sudden bang. It is happening right now, in the quiet, gradual cracking of the foundation in every suburb across this country. America is no longer a nation that saves for its dreams. We are a nation that leases its existence. As your companion in this journey, I'm telling you it is time to stop playing defense. Real freedom doesn't come from a higher credit limit. It comes from the radical act of ownership. Stop leasing your life from a bank and start building a reservoir that the system can't touch. The floor is beginning to shake, but for those who can see through the mirage, there is still time to find solid ground. Stay vigilant, keep your mindset sharp, and I'll see you in the next investigation. Peace.